Welcome back to the Becoming Podcast. I'm Sarah Taylor, your host, and we're joined today by my friend Shani. We often look at a photo and think it captures a single finished moment, but what if that image is actually just one frame in a much longer, messier story? Today, I'm sitting down with my dear friend and photographer, Shani. She has spent years behind the lens capturing women in their seasons of becoming. It's actually quite beautiful to watch her. And she's walking through her own powerful season of becoming, which includes motherhood, faith, and business. We're talking about the art of being seen, the beauty of the messy middle, and why we need to just love the woman we are becoming. Take a deep breath. Let's get into it. Okay, so Shani, we're just going to get right into the thick of it. We often wait until we're quote unquote finished. And actually, if we're really honest, and we're going to go there this early in this conversation, is when I asked you to be on the podcast, you're like, well, I'm still becoming. I haven't made it. And I was like, perfect. That's exactly what I want to capture, the messy middle. Like it's not
Yes.
about that finished product, but you get to watch the whole process of a woman
Mhm.
behind the scenes, getting ready, preparing her
Yeah.
as a photographer, but then also seeing the finished product as you
Yes.
go through her whole process. So,
Yeah.
um, so I know you know the magic as well as the ministry of the work that you do while people are still in their mess.
Yeah.
But why do you think it's so important for women to actually share the messy middle?
Ooh. I'm like, where's she going with this? At the end of this, I truly think it's important because it allows for other women to see that it's not going to be perfect from the start to end. And it just allows other people just to see it in general. I feel growing up, especially like I can only speak about my family because that's what I saw. I didn't see that messy. So I
Mhm.
just thought everything had to be prim and proper. Everything had to be like, a certain way. And then when I started to see that is really messy, I can just show how I am. And it makes a difference and takes the pressure off.
Mhm.
Right. So I think it's important that we share that messy and in every because it's never going to not be messy. So
So
why are
true.
we trying to hide it? Like just share it, be authentic with it, and then you won't feel all that pressure of having to be, you know, perfect, which is not real.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious too, like in your business, so you're a photographer, an amazing
Mhm.
photographer, but also a very intentional photographer. And I'd love for you to talk about as you go into a session with a client and you're
Mhm.
preparing for capturing their in between and capturing a beautiful image at the end.
Yeah.
What are the things that go into that for you to be able to capture that? Because I've worked with you, so I know what we've prepared.
Yeah.
We have a mood board, like all those kinds of things. But I'm curious as like if you think about it, not just about as a business owner, but how you intentionally did that, and it is your ministry and how you
Yeah.
help women capture those moments. I'd love to kind of like hear your storyline about that.
Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of times, even before I even really got intentional with working with women, the reason why I didn't want to work with women before is because they were always telling me to edit this, edit that, edit the world, right? But I'm like, why are we editing if it is a mole on your face? Or like I had a woman tell
Hmm.
me that, take the mole off my face, but that mole is not going anywhere. So now
Yeah.
everybody's just going to say, is that you? You know what I mean? Or if it was, I just had a baby and it's the weight. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, but again, all of this is a part of your journey. So
Hmm.
why are we always trying to cover up those moments that
Hmm.
really shape who we are? Right.
Yep.
So I always like to have those conversations with women because I have so much that even still are saying, I want to lose weight before I do photos.
Hmm.
You are like, if you really just look at yourself and see the beauty of who you are now, because guess what? If you wait, those photos are never going to get taken. Then you have
So
nothing
true.
there to even show, even if you did lose the weight or not.
Hmm.
You had nothing there in that time to even just share that, I did that. Or
Hmm.
look at the woman I am then till now, even if it wasn't weight and it was just building muscle or whatever.
Hmm.
Look at the journey I went on, and now I have those photos to show that. So it's
Hmm.
like I always focus on that because that was always it's always the thing that women just say. And we're too critical of ourselves.
Hmm.
So I think it's just so important that and why I speak so like boldly about confidence
Mhm.
is because once your confidence in who you are, take away all of this, who you are inside,
Mhm.
then you walk into those rooms, you walk into that photo shoot just ready to share that person who you are at that moment, which is not going to be
Mhm.
the same 5 years anyways. So like just do it and see the growth within yourself. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so intentional, like, in preparing for a shoot,
Yeah.
in how you speak to women as well as preparing
Yes.
and all of those pieces as well. I'm also curious about what led you to operate that way because I'm assuming it was part of your own becoming.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's one of my favorite things about talking to women and hearing their stories is often what they end up doing in ministry or in a career or just even in hobbies has come from their own place of becoming. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your own becoming. You've had multiple different seasons of becoming.
Yeah.
I've only known a couple of them, but I'd love for you to share like where did this come from out of your own journey as well? Like how did you get here?
Yeah. I think it's because I will go based off of the one, like the major thing that has always changed me, but I wasn't catching the little things that was happening
Mhm.
was just going through my pregnancies,
Mhm.
right? And having a child. And always after I had that child, I always lost myself
Mhm.
every single time.
And how many do you have?
Or,
Just so the audience knows. It's like a super mom.
oh my gosh. And I have like, oh, that's like another story. But, anyways, I have those 4 children. I had them in different seasons of my life,
Mhm.
and every single time I had them, obviously, we lose a little bit about ourselves, but I was losing myself to the point that I didn't even know how to kinda get myself back up, or it
Mhm.
was like I felt like I had to be a certain way or show up
Mhm.
a certain way and be a certain way, and I think with this last one, because it was attached to also my marriage and then everything kind of falling apart with that,
Mhm.
it was me stepping back and saying, what do I have to look different? Like what do I have to do differently so that I do not lose myself the way that
Mhm.
I did in the past?
Mhm.
And that was in and it still is my becoming.
Mhm.
Really seeing who I am in the process of every single time
Mhm.
and seeing what I let happen and also what I let happen, but also what I had to really allow myself to grow from as well.
Mhm.
Right. So it
Mhm.
was like that was my becoming. That was the, and what I'm still doing now. That was that moment that I had to really look back and say, okay, Shanika, like I'm going to be 45 this year. And I'm like, okay, if I another 10 years from now look back at the woman I am now, I wanna be proud of who she is becoming and who she's working hard to be, and the only way that I'm gonna do that is by really, like, looking at those little steps that I've been taking, and especially with God, okay,
Yeah.
because I couldn't get through all of what I'm doing without God, like,
Absolutely.
really steering me on a daily basis, and even me just saying that out loud, like, my eyes are like, it's tearing up inside, you know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
if I was to look at myself in any other way but how God sees me,
Mhm.
I'd fall apart. That's why I was losing
Yeah.
myself. I was trying to find myself within me and not really focused on him and what he sees in me, right?
So
And
powerful.
that's what hit me this time was
Mhm.
that I'm sitting there like, Lord, everything's falling apart. This is not what I wanted. This is not
Mhm.
what I was seeing for myself. All these visions that but when I took myself out and just said, okay, God, what do you want?
Mhm.
Really, like, what do you want? That's where it was just like, okay,
Mhm.
he wants me to focus on him
Mhm.
and my identity in him. And then it's just like everything's just starting to wash away those expectations I had of myself, what other people had of me. It's just washing away. And that's really what helped me to see that. And why I even came out with my book was that it was something that I find that women really have to know who their identity is so that when things do happen in our lives, because they're going to, we can still lean back on like, how God created us, why
Mhm.
we are here, and what our identity is. I hope I answered that 'cause I know
Yeah,
I
you
did.
absolutely did so beautifully, and I think what it makes me think of is, I think oftentimes people think, "Okay, I'm going through a hard time. I have to be a mess and a disaster, and I can't be content in those seasons." I
Yeah.
think that's something that I've learned really heavily is there might be storms raging around us, but
Mhm.
it's up to us to decide, "Okay, God, I give it to you. I surrender, and I can be peaceful even if the storm is raging."
Uh-huh.
A big piece of that is knowing who you are in him. And if you don't know who you are in him, it's hard to do any of that,
Yeah.
right? And then that's when we lose ourselves, right? So I think it like they're all interconnected and all those small things you talked about, like doing the small things.
Yeah.
I think people think it has to be like one big sweeping task that helps
Yes.
us get to there, but it is the accumulation of those small things that help us
Yeah.
become, but also keep us grounded in those difficult times as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because if you don't like the one thing, for example, just for one example, is years ago I said I wanted to be that 5 a.m. girly waking up in the morning and because I would wake up and then just get all the kids ready and out the door. And then my whole day was just like rush, 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 rush. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't want to be rushing. I want to be in flow.
Yeah.
So like I told myself every day I'm gonna wake up at 5. Of course it didn't happen because I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl, but once I took those small steps, going to bed a little bit earlier and then setting my alarm and not touching it, like just saying, you gotta get up,
Mhm.
Even though it took me almost 8 months to a year to get that spot, I still did it.
Mhm.
And now it's like, not every day is a joy to wake up at that time, but there are mornings that I wake up and I'm just like, well, this is beautiful because my once I wake up at that time at 5 and I spend that time with God and my day goes by, it's it's almost like at nighttime I'm just like, wow, I wasn't stressed today, even though there was
Mhm.
so much stressful things that happened, but I wasn't stressed because I spent that time. So it's like those little steps you make in any capacity, whether it
Mhm.
is spending time with God, exercising more, eating better, which is my next feast. But once you take those steps, you realize that it builds such a confidence in
Mhm.
yourself for you to just show up in any capacity, whether it is to be a mom,
Absolutely.
whether it is to be a friend, a daughter, whatever it is,
Mhm.
it changes everything for you.
Yeah, absolutely, I totally agree. You've actually been doing a series on your Instagram called The Proof of Becoming,
Yes.
which is so funny because so for some context between Shani and I, we met 5 years ago, I wanna say?
Maybe it was
I
at
think it
the
was at that networking event, right? You took a
yes,
photo of me.
I did. And that was like the
Yeah.
first time the same ring light I'm using right now. The one I'm telling you
Full
that's like
circle.
right? I know.
Lit
Oh
literally.
yeah. That's the first time I met you at that event.
But we met in a networking capacity and we just
Mhm.
connected right away, but, like, it took a while for us to have some good connection, but, like,
Yeah.
our journeys have kind of there's been a lot of parallel in seasons as well and in
Yeah.
our own becoming, and so I had already chosen the name of my podcast, and then I saw you doing something similar, so when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I love this. This is
Look at
beautiful."
this, right?
Yeah, so there's, like, just that interconnected, and our daughters are really close in age as well.
Yes.
But tell us what that series is, and what it's about, and why it's so important for you to share.
Yeah. Why I had to share this was because so last year I was just noticing a few things that it's like I was almost looking for this proof that not of becoming, but just proof of I can handle my finances. I can be a good mother. I can be like I needed proof of it. And when I was talking to my business coach, shout out to Miss J, she was like, why do you feel that you need this proof? Like you already
Mm,
have it, right? And then again, literally a week later, I'm talking to my therapist and she said the same thing. So it was like
wow.
I was looking for something that the proof was already there. And
Mhm.
it's something that I'm always talking about with my clients too, like taking these photos. I do it for myself as well. So it was like I was looking for this proof when it was already in front of me. So I'm like, why don't I just record it? Have conversations, simple things
Mhm.
of so that I can see, and it really is a selfish thing, but I want to see at the end of the year
Yeah.
how far I've become and just also getting
Mhm.
comfortable in front of the camera because that is another proof of becoming when it comes to video. Like I avoid video as
I know you
so
tried multiple excuses with me, and I was like, and God was just like, God kept knocking on the door, like literally, like this weekend was like, Shani, 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 and I was like, oh my goodness, I battled it for a day, and then I finally sent you a message. I was like, okay, God has been relentless. I need to have you on the podcast like ASAP.
ASAP. And so he knows my heart and that's why it happened the way it did, especially the
Hmm.
fact that you literally called like what? Left a message on Thursday? Yep. We're doing it on the Monday, okay? So just so you guys know. But that God knows me because he knows like I need to not have to think about it, just do it right away, right? But that is literally why I did the proof of becoming because I want that proof for myself as well. But I also just feel like a lot of people are resonating with what I'm saying as well.
Hmm.
So I just feel like it's going to be something for other people to look at and say, I can do that. And again, everything goes back to this, like, I don't know if you want to call it an ecosystem or just like that community base. But
Yes.
when we are out there sharing, when we are out there doing for others, they will also do the same. And I feel like
Hmm.
that is what's really going to change the world and the dynamics of how women see themselves.
Hmm. I absolutely agree, and I think that that's a thread through all the variety of things that you do.
Yeah.
Is that community element, that building women up, building yourself up, and
Mhm.
leading by example in that place, which leads me to you actually wrote a book called Just Love Her
Yeah.
last year, and it's actually based on Proverbs 31. So I'm actually gonna read my favorite scripture verse of Proverbs 31. I've referenced it a couple times. It's also tattooed on my arm,
I loved it.
but Proverbs 31:25, and then I'm gonna have you share. But Proverbs 31 is just such a beautiful anchoring for women.
Mhm.
Okay, 31:25. I'm reading from the New Living Translation. She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. We'll go into 26. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instruction with kindness.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, um, that whole chapter of Proverbs 31 feels like a list of has heavy expectations for a lot of women.
Yep.
How did you flip that narrative in your what you wrote? It's a devotional, so it breaks down the whole chapter really beautifully. I have a copy.
Mm.
You can get a copy online. I'll have the link below. How did you make it about loving her instead of measuring her?
Right.
Sorry, that's
Ooh,
a
I
heavy
love
one.
how you said that because I didn't even realize it on that level of what you just said. But I think it's just because I'm my biggest critic. I am the
Mm,
hardest on myself, where others may have other people that are hard on them. It was me that
mhm,
beat up myself. It was me that was like, I wasn't good enough or I didn't do enough. And
mhm,
this book did come at a time where so I always wanted to come out with a book. I wanted to do a huge tabletop book with pure pictures of women and blah, 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 blah. And, me, what I want to do. And then I eventually just said, okay, Lord, like, what do you want me to do with this book? Right.
mhm,
And this was at the time that my husband and I were separating. And I sat there and I just said, why Proverbs 31?
mm.
It's not it's not something I would read that much
Wow.
because I was always measuring myself to
Mm,
what she was doing and she did this right and this right. And I also was doing a lot of comparison
mm,
because, yes, I do have 4 children, but they are not the same father. So at
mhm,
the end of the day, when you look at the Proverbs 31, it's a lot of comparison that I was
mm,
doing. And I find a lot of other women are doing, but it's just so weird how it came about that just one night I just started writing.
mhm.
Right? I started reading
And filling up and letting it,
because
like,
he said to read it,
yep.
And as I was reading it and then writing, and I just wanted it to be so simple for
Mhm,
women to just read it, but not put that pressure on themselves and
mhm,
just realize that it's something that you yes, you can put towards the relationship dynamics, but it
Mhm.
is really Proverbs 31 is really what God's expectations of us are,
Mhm.
but not so much pressure. He
Yeah.
doesn't put pressure on us like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So once I finished it, believe it or not, when I finished the book and I started to give it out, I was still comparing myself to
Mhm.
it, even though it was like even the one that you read, Strength and Dignity, right?
Yeah. So
And
beautiful.
thank you. And even when I looked at it and kept reading it, I was still comparing.
Mhm.
So I think at the end of the day, it's really that journey that we have to do with God and focusing on what He truly wants of us.
Mhm.
Because I even had some women say, "Oh, I don't ever plan to get married, so I don't really need this book," kind of thing. And I'm like, but it's not that.
Yeah.
Well, I said, I want you to just look at it with a different perspective
Mhm.
and I remember I gave one woman the book. I just gave it to her and I
Mhm.
said, look at it in a different perspective. And when you finish it, come back to me and talk
Mhm.
to me, right? So I haven't heard from her yet, so I can't have a report and I'm not gonna lie on it, but it is really just about us looking at things differently. And because
Mhm.
I'm still here and there, like every other month I started again and every time I do, I see something different. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about the Bible.
Agreed.
And I
Yeah.
even encourage people to read it in a different translation and
Mhm.
come back to this because it is really about you seeing yourself differently and taking off that pressure and
Mhm.
that measurement that we put to if we look at this, she's doing so much and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough." No,
Mhm.
that's not the point.
Yeah.
It's really about looking at it and a different view and saying that I am every woman, married or not, is a Proverbs 31 woman and they will see themselves in it. And that's why I took the photos of women
Mhm.
who are not perfect, who
Mhm.
have their messy stuff as well. And they are in this book with it so that you can see that, hey, I'm here. I'm within this book. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think also, like, even as you shared, like, you were going through your separation when you wrote this, I think
Yeah.
oftentimes people think that they are disqualified, that they're not able, they're not capable to be able to show up for other people and lead even when they are hurting.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference between, like, leading while bleeding. So, like, in the depths of it, like, I know for me, like, I had to rest because I was in so much pain, and so
Yeah.
there was a season for that, but I think if you could speak to the power also of, like, sharing while you're in it. Like, even me, like, be having a podcast, I'm still in a lot of the stuff. I don't know what the next steps are. This was one of
Yeah.
them, but when we're faithful in those moments and, like, I'm just curious your thoughts on, like, being able to give even while you're still going through your own stuff and processing.
I think we need to do that while we're processing because if we sit at home and do nothing, like absolutely nothing. I know for me, I can only speak for myself, but if I'm not continuing to help and share and speak on it, I found at the times that I wasn't speaking on it, I was in my head too much.
Mm,
So as much as I may not have shared it on my platform, right? So I didn't see the relevance of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is the relevance for me when I'm in conversation with somebody else, me talking to my best friend every day about it,
Mhm,
having those moments. I just feel that by sharing and just showing that, like, some people didn't know I was going on, but they saw me still
mhm,
smiling and still laughing, and I'm still grieving a
mhm,
not only just a friendship, but also a relationship.
mhm,
And that was something that I did not expect to hit me as hard as it did. Because when I thought of grief, I saw it as death, like somebody dying and leaving this earth.
yeah,
So now when I'm seeing this relationship and I look at the fact that I'm grieving something,
mhm,
I didn't really look at it that way until again, somebody else tells you and you're just like, damn it. Oh, that's what's happening. But And now I can look back and say, even while I was mothering, I was grieving that woman that I was before I had the first, the second, the third, and now the fourth. And so it's like even grief on a whole different level is something I'm still learning now while I'm going through this. But to go back to what you were saying, like I think it's important that you still connect and not retreat.
Mhm.
Because sometimes when we do retreat, if you are not embedded in God, you will
Mhm.
end up in a depressive state, or you will end up really like pushing people away too much that they
Mhm.
won't even know how to help you. So I feel for me, that's what I'm not going to speak like everybody's going to go through their stuff
Mhm.
differently. But I just know for me, I had to still keep connecting to people. Even when I
Mhm.
would see you, I'm like, girl, we would just word vomit, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, I think that those relationships, those people you have near you is important to
Mhm.
have, and why
Agreed.
it's important that you even check up on people and
Mhm.
send that message, because I think it's important that we are still in this together,
Mhm.
and even when it is a breakup or, you
Mhm.
know, anything like that. I don't even know where else I could go with that, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's really powerful. What season would you say that you are now in?
Oh, hard. I think because every day it's different,
Which
and
is
that's
very
why
real. Like, that's
yeah,
a
yeah,
reality.
'cause and it's especially being a woman, your emotions are everywhere, especially when
Depends
you're
on the time of the month.
thank you very much, because that was me last week, and I'm like, "Why am I crying at everything?" Like, I'm a crier, but
Same.
man, I was crying every second. But I feel right now I am in a season of truly, truly seeing who I am,
Oh,
like,
I love that.
really seeing who I am and walking confidently in that. And I
Mhm.
think, for example, I went to an event last week, over the weekend, I think. Can't remember what day, but anyways. And they were talking about wealth and, um, family dynamics and things like that. It was a beautiful event. And at the end, they had these questions that they were asking. And every time they asked a question, I don't know why it was. I hate the word triggering, but I felt it. Okay, I really hate the word because I'm just like whatever. It feels like just an emotion. But every time certain questions that
Mhm.
I knew, it's like sometimes when you have an answer for it or you don't have an answer, or you feel that it is directed towards what you're going
Mhm.
through, especially if it's a breakup or relationship or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So they were asking a question and I was like feeling so uneasy. And I'm like, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to talk. I'm not, Sure enough, I talked. And then my mouth, when you're like getting emotional and your mouth is like,
Quivering?
so bad, whatever. And I spoke from the heart, but that if I kept fighting that, it's
Mhm.
literally God saying, speak,
Yeah.
right? If I kept fighting that, I would have went home and felt very uneasy. I would have still
Mhm.
brought what was bothering me home with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of things are changing for me because I am somebody that I only speak if I have something really good to say, you know? I love to listen. I love to take in information. I
Mhm.
love to observe before, because this was a new group I was with. I don't know anybody in there except my
Mhm.
girlfriend that brought me, but it also felt like a safe space. So I could. But that's the season I'm in right now where I am learning to speak
Mhm.
when I feel like I should be. I am learning about myself so much more that it's put this like different level of confidence within myself
Mhm.
that I'm saying yes to the things that I would normally say no to.
Yeah.
And I'm saying no to things
Yeah.
that in the past I should have said no to, and really standing my ground on who I am becoming,
Mhm.
it's like I can see her, but she's still all the way over there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, I feel like that's where I'm at right now, where I'm, it's weird that even though I'm in this separation and I am like here, you know, being a single mom to my kids,
Mhm.
I'm for the first time in my life not lonely because I'm so
Mm.
close. about my relationship with God and myself that when I go to bed at night, it's like, I'm just going to bed. I don't need to do this whole like rigmarole in my head. Oh, I wish
Mhm.
somebody was like that, hugging me up. Like I'm not
Yeah.
in that season, which I know I
Same.
have been in the past,
Mhm.
right? I think I heard you speak
Yeah.
on that before too. So that's why I was like, ooh, girl, I know what you're saying. And it's such a weird feeling
It
because
is.
and I feel like that's the beauty of becoming, of growing,
Mhm.
and just seeing things totally differently, and I think it happens when you truly surrender to God.
Agreed.
Yeah,
As you were speaking, I kept thinking is it sounds like an honoring season. You're honoring you and
yeah,
what you need in each moment and how powerful that is. And because you're honoring yourself in those moments, you're also able
mhm,
to show up when it feels aligned for you without the
exactly.
pressure. Like it brings back all the pieces you've talked about today of like not having the pressure, not comparing and like operating out of what it is you desire, what it is you need and honoring your time and your commitment to yourself. And when we do those things, we have the capacity to show up for others in other ways as well. And
Mhm,
I think it again comes back to also being able to be content in those difficult seasons because we have honored ourselves, right? Like that
exactly.
not I'm not pining for anything. I'm not like I'm content, like I'm happy. Like I also can't envision somebody being in my life, right? Like
Right.
but I'm would I love it? Yeah, but like when we honor ourselves, it just it takes the pressure off because
Yes.
I feel like so many times we hide behind a mask and we're like, well, everybody thinks this is what I want. Everybody thinks this
Yep,
is what I should say and how I should
yeah,
perform. And when we take all that off, we're able to
mhm,
just be, exist, and move in this world, right?
exactly.
Which is so much more powerful than just like floating by and doing what other people expect. We're honoring ourselves by showing up for ourselves. We talk a lot on my show about pivoting. I feel like you've had to do multiple versions of pivoting in different
Okay.
ways in the last little while, business, personal. How has your faith been an anchor when the picture of life didn't look exactly how you planned for it?
Right. W
Sorry. Take a second.
You know what? Why I'm so damn, okay.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Did. You know why? Because there were many times that it wasn't the anchor. I would go into the emotions, like just being what's coming up and I'm just going to say it obviously was I remember when I was on the phone with my girlfriend. So, and I'm walking around and I was like venting to her about my separation and I was like this is rocking my brain because it's hitting and this is literally what I said. It's literally hitting my faith
Mm,
because everything felt like he told me to get married. He told me to be in like, and especially with people that truly know me. I've gone through things within my home that I was just like, nah, that's not for me.
mhm,
Marriage is not for me. I'm good with just being with the man that I fell in love with for the rest of my life. And that's how I saw things. So for me to say yes to this journey
mhm,
of being married and committing my life to that person and God, right?
mhm,
So when the separation is happening, I'm like, okay,
mm,
God, like it hit it. Like it, and I never was mad at God. I was never like, I'm done with faith. Like, no, it just really rocked my brain. So now I know why
mhm,
God is telling me to say it because at the end of the day, even though it was rocking my brain, I was still praying with God. I was still
mhm,
like asking Him the questions because I feel like when we grew up, they would say never question God.
mhm.
But as I got older, I realized that's not true. Like
Yeah,
question Him, you can talk to Him, you can
he can handle
lay
it.
it all down. He can handle it. Like,
Mhm,
hello, God. Right? So it's like, I just feel like no matter what I've gone through, everything has always brought me back to him. Even when
mm,
I fell off, even when I was doing what I wanted to do, partying, doing all the things, everything always came back. And I had that vision the other day where he has always been the umbrella. Like, see when it's raining outside.
mhm.
This is the vision I had the other day. It was so
Ooh,
So imagine you look outside, it's raining, pouring rain. Obviously, if you don't have an umbrella,
Mhm.
you're going to get soaked. But I had this vision of me just walking out there, no umbrella over me. I was not soaked. And I looked down around me and you see where the umbrella would cover, there's no
Yeah.
rain in those areas.
Wow.
All it was around me. And that's literally how God was like showing me that He has me. That's what
That's
I saw,
so powerful.
right? So it was just like all of these years, I felt like there was times that it wasn't there. And even like things that are happening now, which you and I will talk about after, but certain things that it's like you are really like, you're really covering me.
Mhm.
I focus this month, and it's just a little off topic, but this month is focusing on my finances because I was watching it. I'm doing everything. And then all of a sudden I fell off again. I even wrote it on the month, finance month. So every day I'm doing a task, whether it's building a budget, going over
Mhm.
my finances, whatever. The event I went to this weekend was about wealth and finance, and it wasn't even planned to go this month. It
Wow.
was me just talking to my girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
do you want to be my plus one tonight?" And everything worked out at home. And I went there and I left feeling so empowered and ready.
Mhm.
That's how God works.
Yeah.
He literally gives you the crumbs. He's been telling me to work on my finances from all of last year. And then at the
Wow.
end of the year, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I not that I was, like, dismissing it, it was just life kept throwing at me that I wasn't
Mhm.
making a plan. Once I made that plan for this month, that
I
happened,
love that. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So I'm just like, it's literally him just saying, "I have you. You just have to trust me." And that was my not my word for the year, but that was something that kept getting prompted to me that I truly haven't trusted God with my life.
Mm.
That's why all these things kept happening.
Mhm.
Decisions that I was making and thinking that I was going to him, but I wasn't. I
Mhm.
wasn't asking him permission. I was just saying, "I'm doing this.
Mhm.
Come
Yeah.
along the way," literally.
I relate to that one.
You see? Right? So it's
Yeah.
like when you do all these things and not really just go to God first and say,
Mhm.
"Okay, what it," even this event, I said, "Do you want me to go to this event?" Even though I said yes, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, "You know what, Lord? Sorry. Do you want me to go to this event?"
Mhm.
I got the response. I went. And
Yeah.
when I came home, I said, "God, thank you so much,"
Mhm.
because I needed to be in that room.
Absolutely, and I think it's interesting, like, I've watched it in my life too, even with launching the podcast, like, I
Mhm.
I had an idea, and God's like, "Sit down." And it's like and he was very clear with me, "Let me open the doors for you. Like,
Mhm.
stop trying to bulldoze your way through things. Just let me
Yeah.
open the doors." So, like, even in your act of obedience to listening, which is now reminding me that God has asked me to do something and I've delayed, delayed, delayed,
Yeah.
studying Esther, finishing a certain study that I'm just like anyway, so now I'm like, "Okay, that's what I'm doing."
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
again, right there in that moment is the power of women connecting and sharing vulnerably is like, we can be like iron sharpens iron, like the word talks about
Yeah.
too, right? Like,
Yep.
whole right? But anyways, my rabbit trail there was God had finances on your heart for a year. And then you
Yeah.
acted in obedience by giving him this month. And then he opened doors to nurture that for you. Right. And I think that that is
Exactly.
so cool about our journey and our relationship with God is like, it is like we obey, he responds. We obey, he responds. But it
Mhm.
also can be tricky if we then rely on, oh, if I do this, he'll do this for me.
Yes.
And so I think that that's where it can be like, still taking a seat, and like you did, you're like, "Oh, did you want me to go to that?" And then coming back to him, right? Like,
Yeah.
doesn't become like a, "If I do this, God will do this for me," and I think something I always thought, like, a decade ago anyway,
Yeah.
when I was going through a separation was, "Oh, God did this for somebody else. That was their formula. Okay, so I have this part of the formula, this part of the formula. It's gonna happen
Yeah.
for me this way," right? And I think then we're, like, trying to play God and control the situation when God's like, "Can you just give it to me and let me do?"
Let me do.
And that is hard to take your hands off of it, but I've watched you do that over and over again, in
Mhm.
the short time we've known each other. Meanwhile, I feel like I've known you my life. Like, that's just
I
kind of like
know.
the connection that we have, which is so
Yeah.
beautiful. Last question I have for you is not as heavy, um, is really important for me to, like, celebrate other women and the things that they're doing. Obviously, where we've talked about your business and your book and, like,
Yeah.
I think that it is so important, but you also launched your own podcast recently with a friend of yours, so I'd love to
I
know a little
did.
bit about it. We'll link it below as well, you can go check them out, but just tell us a little bit about that podcast and that relationship as well.
Yeah. So wow. And that is a true testament to becoming as well. Is I got to watch Kamshaka grow into who she is now because
Mm,
I have been photographing her for over 10 years.
wow.
We realized so I started off as she was my mentor. I was gonna say she was my mentee, but no. I do it every single time. She was my mentor. For about a year, she was just teaching me the ins and outs of photography. And I feel like God even orchestrated that because I was going to quit photography. This
Wow.
was around the time my 18-year-old was, I think she was like 4, right? So
Wow.
that's how long I've known Cam forever. But I was going to quit photography. I was done with it. And literally, the she texted me the day that and
I
I
don't
was
even know
like,
the story, but I'm laughing because
girl, because, like, you just
God.
know how God works. She texts me on the day, she's like, "You came on my heart," and then she's like, "I wish I had the text, like, sometimes I wish," but she's like, "You came on my heart, and I would really love for you to be my mentee and da 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 da. Let me know what you think." And obviously, right away when I saw the message, I started to bawl, messaged her back, and I said, absolutely. So that journey started with her. It was only supposed to be 1 year, but after that year, we just connected in such a way that every time she did an event, anytime she wanted photos taken, it just grew into it was mentorship, then it grew into business. And then within the last few years, it was so weird how this happened, but it was just like our conversations just started to elevate.
Mhm,
We even got to know each other because obviously we were with each other so much that our kids got to know each other. We
mhm.
got to know each other. Our even though it's her last baby, but my third baby are the same age. So we were pregnant at the same time as well.
Aw.
So it's like so many things started to happen and intertwine our lives
Mhm,
about a year or so ago, I told her, I'm like, let's just start a podcast. So we like were throwing out names. It was going to be about business, but nothing hit. And then I just asked her again last year. I said, girl, like, let's just do this podcast. It doesn't have to be no pressure. We'll put mics in, we'll just put
yeah,
mics
yeah.
on, talk. We don't have to do the video. We don't have to do nothing. We'll just have fun.
Yet.
Right? Yes, yes, yes.
Sarah's gonna help with that one.
Right? Yay! So excited. So, but that's what we did. So, like, literally, she just came to my house and we were literally in my bedroom and just started having conversations. And the first few times we recorded, it was just like, okay, are we going to use this or are we not? Like, it's one of those. And then eventually one day we just really banged out like fours. It just ended up just being something so organic and so beautiful.
Mhm.
And so the podcast is called Always Been That Girl.
I love it.
And right?
Yeah.
The reason why we thought of that was because we were gonna do business besties. We were gonna do like all these things, but it really was about going back to even just me calling this Just Love Her. Always been
Mhm,
that girl. We are always gonna be that woman,
mhm,
that girl that we are. We're evolving
mhm.
this woman, but at the end of the day, we're always gonna be that little girl we were. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's what that came from. And it's really about us talking about friendship,
Mhm.
business, and life
Yeah.
and the journeys that we've had to go through as mothers, as
Mhm.
wives, as sisters, as like any element that we have in our life. We just talk about it and just have like just like how we are now
Yeah.
is how I am with her on the podcast where we just bring up anything
Mhm.
and just have a conversation and just act like it's just you and your girlfriend in your living room just having pure jokes. So that's what it's
Which I
about.
think that kinda energy is, like, what a lot of people need, right? Like, it is, like, connecting with you guys in a way on so many different things, and both of you have, like, wild stories, I would
Yes.
say. But I love how there's so many, like, interlacing of each of you becoming how the journey together, like,
Yeah.
I have a friendship very similar, Julianne, my
Yeah,
purpose mate, who was on a previous episode as well. It's beautiful when God can lace somebody who you can do life and purpose
yeah,
with, and
yeah,
how I think so many women have been in relationships with other women that are, like, catty and competitive and, like, it's
very
not the
much.
vibe. We're not in high school, and so I think it's inspirational in itself to just, like, talk about those things and show other women what it can be like to have, like, really fun relationships with women, and
Yeah,
again, like, that's part of why I created this podcast as well, is, like, me sharing the things that I've learned in difficult seasons and becoming, but also being able to showcase other women and their stories and, like,
yeah,
what they've had to go through because I think the more we can connect with each other, 1, the less we feel alone, and
yes.
2, the more we feel is possible so that we can
Yeah,
take a step, we can commit to ourselves, we can keep showing up for ourselves and for other people as well.
yeah, and I think that's so important because when when I look back on even if, for example, like my story in Kamshukas is very different. She's been married for her life. I'm just gonna say life because I'm not even she's been married her life. I was married for a few years. I had multiple relationships between there, right? But one thing that always stayed consistent in all of it is the friendships,
Mhm.
right? So not to say like any of my relationships were like so bad that I don't have still a relationship or a friendship with my exes, right? Because at the end of the day, two of them are still the father of my children. But
Mhm.
what's beautiful and what I even noticed why I'm so focused on friendship right now is because those are the things that have always stayed,
Yeah.
right? And some people haven't, like some people don't have that story, but even if you don't, it doesn't mean you give up on it, right? If you want to reconnect with somebody that you feel that it shouldn't have happened, even if it's
Mhm.
not talking on a woman to woman relationship,
Mhm.
right? Then reconnect and figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because life is way too short, and we see all the
Absolutely.
time where people have died and there's all these regrets.
Mhm.
I wish I spoke to this person. I wish I reached out. I wish I
Mhm.
this. Stop wishing, do it because you can do it right now, right?
Yeah.
So like
Absolutely.
even now, it's like I think for the month of I don't even know if I did it for January, February, but a lot of my email posts were about friendship,
Mhm.
right? Because I even want women to do more photo shoots together where
Yeah.
they just show up and they have like just have a good time, but capture it because
Mhm.
it's like that's one thing that I'm gonna do with my girlfriends this year is we're all like I have 3 besties,
Mhm.
Kamshika, Alana, Crystal. I'm just making sure you all hear this. That's why I'm saying it out loud. But I'm gonna do a photo shoot with all of them,
Mhm.
right? Whether it is together or separate, but I'm gonna get it done because I just want that even if it's the one and only time I do a photo shoot with them,
Mhm.
let me have that memory with them to share with
Absolutely.
them, right?
Yeah.
And I just think it's important, like, even you, if you did it with your girlfriend as well, those things, like, yes, you can do cell phones, but that photo shoot experience,
Is like nothing
right?
else. Yeah.
Nothing else, and you know it because you just did one with,
With Julie, and we've done it a couple times.
right? So it's like, I just think it's important that everybody, like, really looks at their life and says, like, "What is it?" And this is what I'm doing now. Who do I wanna have in my life, and
Mm.
where do I wanna see myself? Because once you start to really envision it, like, really envision it and say, "I wanna have" meet up with my girlfriends each month. Once you are even in that healing season and you as you keep growing, like, it's something so surreal that it just starts coming to you.
Mhm. It's true. Yep.
Automatically, because God is gonna say, "Oh, she's ready." Because that happened to me. I lost a friendship when I was younger, and then as I started to grow and I said, "Lord, this is what I want," all of a sudden, I organically met Alana at
Mhm.
work, and that only happened because and again, see how you said, like, even our relationship,
Yeah.
it took a while, but it happened with her too. She was working at my dealership for how many months before we even had one
Mhm.
conversation. My computer broke upstairs. I had to sit behind her. And literally that day, I regurgitated my whole life to her. And then within a few months, we were besties. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
it's just,
hilarious. Yeah.
I don't even know how many years it's been now that we've known each other. So it's
Mhm.
like, every journey that we have, it happens when we are aligned and open
Mhm.
to receive those beautiful things. But it really does take us making, what is that word? It takes us to really look at ourselves,
Mhm.
not be pointing at other people, but really looking at ourselves and saying, what do I have to work on within myself
Mhm.
to be the woman that I want to be for those women in my lives or for my partner or for my
Mhm.
children? And then everything just flows, which that's why I'm so thankful for who God has put in my life.
Mhm.
And I'll never that's all him. Every woman that's in my life right now, even though the woman that invited me to the event this weekend, I'm just like, I've known her for a while, but never connected as much as we did this weekend. And
Mhm.
it's just like, okay, God, I see you. Thank you.
Yep. Which, to be honest, like, because I had picked 2 verses for today, and I shared them with you before we started recording, and it honestly, like, comes back to this scripture verse, and I think there are so
Right?
many ways to apply this. Philippians 1:6, "And I am certain the God who began the good work within you will continue his work until it's finally finished on the day that Christ returns." And I think that that is, again, the power of women sharing their stories is that you can watch in other women's lives, not just in relationships, but in the things that they've gone through, in the different journeys of becoming, the different seasons of becoming, how God
Hmm.
works it all together to make something beautiful, but also to sustain us. I think that that's one of the most beautiful things about relationships with other women is they can be built to last and they can be built to sustain us so that when we are in a darker time, they can lift us up and it goes both ways and that kind of thing, right? So I love like hearing how different women in different seasons of your life when you met them and how it's impacted you
Hmm.
and your own becoming as well too, right?
Yep,
And then you journey together, and continue forward.
exactly.
As we're coming to an end, is there anything else you'd like to leave with parting words before we wrap up?
What I would tell every woman that is listening to this podcast is to continue to learn yourself. As the more you know about you is the more that you can teach others around you, to be honest. I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
that's important. So get to know you and
Mhm.
put that time aside to really get to know you. That's it.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you, Shani, so much for joining me. And thank you, listeners, for sharing this space with us. Really hope that if you're in a season where you feel unseen or unfinished, just remember that those moments are often where the most beautiful development actually happens. Doesn't always feel easy. And you don't have to be picture perfect to be worthy of love. And if this conversation blessed you in any way, please share it with a friend who needs to be reminded of her own beauty as well. See you next time.